I have a lot of customers that say, well, I don't really need an interior designer. I watched HGTV for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I can do this myself.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
You can't.
I hate to say I love them to death. I love my customers to death. But something that's going to ruin their customer experience every time is the ones that think they can do it themselves.
Yep.
They're never as happy.
Nope.
They spend more money.
They're overwhelmed.
And there's no cohesion. There's no symmetry in the home.
Nope.
And it just doesn't look quite as good. And when they go to sell it, they're not going to get as much as they could with a choreographed home that was designed by an interior designer. Welcome back to Building, Brews, and Barbecue. This is episode number 2 in our series called The House That Wisdom Built. Series that me, Vince Longo, and
Nathan Walters,
your co-hosts, are going to take you through step by step, important steps in the building journey. So whether you're building a custom home, thinking of building a custom home, or remodeling your home, this is where we hope you get great information. Hey, listen, this isn't going to get you all the way there. Right?
Why not?
I don't know. I just felt like I had to do that.
Oh, okay. We're doing disclaimers
Disclaimer,
now?
yeah.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, after that how bad I did on the last episode, the first one.
We wanted to do a disclaimer?
Yeah. When your attorney calls you and says, you really suck, you need disclaimers, and you need to take something before you do the show because you're really low-key. Or key.
I think it's T.
T. Anyway, in this episode, we're going to talk about probably what I think is the most important part, step, whatever you want to call it, in the home building journey.
Yes.
Hands down. And it is missed constantly because of bad information, bad advice, rushing into doing things. And this is critical, right? You don't have to listen to any other episodes, although we wish you would. Please come back for episode 3, where we're going to be giving you the secret to life. But no, this is important. Well, maybe that won't be.
I don't think that's it.
Incredibly important. And it's what we call around here selecting your power team.
Yep.
And it's never too early, right?
No.
So, if you're building a home or renovating a home is not a solo journey. We all know that.
Yeah.
And I hope you listeners out there understand that as well.
We know that. I don't know if they do.
Well, maybe they don't, but they're going to know now.
They're going to know after this.
It is not. Yeah. And I would say anybody that tells you to go at this alone or just pick one person as your team in this journey is really steering you down the wrong path.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's what we want to talk about today. In the last episode, we went through, in the morning, you wake up, you want to build a new home or remodel or renovate your home. We went through what you can do first. We rounded that out with identifying a lot in a community or an infill lot, which could be vacant or a tear down.
That's right.
So you've identified those things. You worked with a realtor. You maybe have it under contract or you have bought the lot. A lot of times you just got to buy it because there's a lot of time between locking down a great deal on a parcel of land that meets your needs because things go fast. To putting the whole plan together to start building. It's a pretty big lag time. Right? But we want to use that lag time or that time in between to do it right. So we've got our power team. And what we want to go through is who's on it.
Yeah, that's right.
So tell me, Nathan, Oklahoma, who do you have on your power team?
I would say what I enjoy so much about this topic for this series is in Oklahoma, in our market, it is very builder driven, which I know is somewhat different than your market, which I believe from my knowledge of your market is architect-driven.
Yeah,
okay.
100%.
The problem with a builder-driven market is there is a lot of misconception that the builder does everything. Okay? And I think that maybe at your more production-style homes, things like that, the builder can maybe do everything. I will tell you, if you're going to build a custom home, that if there's a builder saying he does everything, I just don't think you can. I think that the builder is just that. He's the builder. The builder needs to long answer your question: an interior designer, a draftsman or an architect, an engineer, and a landscape architect. Those are the things that we need because we as the builder put it together. But I'm not your landscape architect. I don't What kind of trees do we want? Well, what kind of vision do you want? Well, we need the landscape architect, interior design. Look, I know it looks good, but I don't know what colors go together. We need interior designers, and then we piece it together.
Right. And so I agree 100%. And that is your market. And that's pretty similar around the country, right? Most markets are builder driven.
Yeah, most.
You know, but you get to sort of what I've heard is you get sort of the bigger cities, your Atlanta, your LA, your New Yorks, your Scottsdale, your Arizona, your Phoenix area. Those areas become what I see, like you mentioned, is it becomes architect driven in a custom home.
That's right.
So you get a good portion that are realtor, but for the lion's share of custom homes being built in Atlanta, people are going to architects first. And, you know, I love architects, and we're going to get into the architects in here today. But the biggest thing that I think is a mistake, like you said, it's a mistake to go directly to a builder and think that they're going to do everything.
That's right.
It's also a mistake, I think, in my opinion, to go to an architect and just have them sign up with them, their services. Their services are to design and draft you a beautiful home. And they're both going to sit down, you and the architect are going to sit down and create this beautiful thing that nobody even knows, A, what's going to go in it for fits and finishes, i.e. the designer. Two, there's no builder on board.
How do you build it?
How do you give good information all the way through to help the architect and the homeowner make those design or architectural decisions?
That's right.
With an actual price, because somebody's got to build it and it's got to have a number on it.
That's right.
And three, they don't have the landscape architect involved, which I think is another huge architecture piece. And then four, the engineers aren't even involved yet. Like the site engineer, which is the civil. How does the site play out? Where are the retaining walls? How does this work? Is it a basement? Is it a crawl space? Which is huge for cost. And there's not a structural engineer to say, can this house even be built?
Right.
And then the last piece of the puzzle for me is where's the audio visual or the home integration specialist? That's another big one that's on our team now, that as technology evolves, you need that person early because there's major cost implications to what goes in the home and behind the walls. And so in our market, going to the architect first and spending all of that money to draw something when the other 5 members of the team aren't on board. And I do sometimes think that that's kind of, I mean, I don't want to say unethical, but it's definitely a waste of homeowners' money.
Well, it's a waste of money in a way. It's what I talk to potential customers that are going to sign up with us about. I'm like, listen, the draftsman or the architect is getting paid to draw what you ask them to draw. That's what they're getting paid for. If you're like, I want a 45-foot long living room. Okay. And this is what I'll tell potential customers. Okay. They're going to give you that. They're going to draw that on paper. If I'm a builder and I'm there and I'm just using round numbers, okay, at 45 feet, well, can you live with 42 feet? And the customer would be like, well, why? Well, at 42 feet, we can frame it this way, which saves you thousands of dollars. Do you really need the 3 extra feet just because it's that? I said, that's what the builder's there for, to help talk about it. The architect's job is not to tell you how to build it or what it costs. It's to draw what you ask them to draw. And without anybody else giving advice, you're right. What I see, if you go architect or draftsman first, then you start meeting the team, then you have to go back and spend more money to get it
more time.
And more time.
You know, and that really, we're seeing these time frames get drawn out, no pun intended, but maybe that was a good insert.
It was a good one.
So much longer because you're not processing it right.
That's right.
And to what you're saying, what I'm gathering from what you said about in Oklahoma, how it is and what your response to that, I think was brilliant, because you're looking at it as though the builder's really the quarterback of the team.
That's right.
Right? They're not necessarily, you're a cog in the wheel.
I'm a cog in the wheel.
You know, and the guide, I look at ourselves as the quarterback or the guide in our hero story, which is our customer.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, and I think that we also house, as the builder in the process, being the quarterback, what does that look like? Well, it's coordinating the process or the entire project from start to finish. I mean, we have the pricing knowledge and experience. I know in our company, we have a dedicated estimator and purchasing manager that's dedicated to the pricing. That's all he does all day.
Yeah.
And then you have these other pieces of that builder cog that are below it, helping to guide the customer to the right decisions, I hear you say.
Yeah.
Along the way. So if the home builder is the quarterback,
Yeah.
but he's also just a part of the team.
That's
He's
right.
just a member of the team.
That's right.
He's not the person that makes he's just the guide.
Yeah.
Right?
And we just have a misconception, I believe, in our market that the builder can do it all. Right. It's what we've done for years. And I lately have been pushing back a little bit of, we can't do it all. It takes a team to build a house. And that goes to a team with the trades who do the work. But really in the pre-planning part where we're at, no, I need a good architect. I need a good engineer. I need a good interior designer. And I need them all working simultaneously.
Yeah. For the architect, obviously, they're going to be the visionary that brings that home to life. The builder's the one that's going to physically make it come to life. But they're the visionary that gets it into the CAD program.
That's right.
Into draft. We get that. Now, the third key player on the team is the interior designer. And, tell me a little bit about how you approach interior designers for your customers or your builds.
Okay, so how we do it is what we tell our customers is, listen, you can use any interior designer you want, okay? But you have to use one. Now, with that said, we do have a couple of interior designers that we have used a bunch, okay? And so what we'll explain to our customers is, hey, you don't have to use them, but they really know how we operate, okay? So it can help make things seamless. If you want to use someone else, our only thing that we tell them is, here's the list of the information we need, and here's the deadlines we need them by. As long as we have that information by the deadlines we need, I'm open to any interior designer. But I need the information by these certain deadlines, because what I like to tell our customers, I can't build what I don't know, and I can't build a moving target.
Correct. Oh, that's a good point. That's a real good point.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the interior designers, you expect a certain level of input and feedback from them.
We do.
When do you like to have that information intact, in hand, during the process?
So we introduce our interior designer as soon as we start plans to them. And we kind of, what I say is, we're working simultaneously. So we're working with the draftsman and the architect on the plans, and we're starting with mood board, vision board, whatever you want to call it. And we're working with the customer simultaneously, doing both, because what I have seen is, hey, when we start with the plans, I tell everybody, hey, we're starting big picture. The interior designer needs to start working on your mood board, but we don't really need them yet because we're laying out rooms. As we start to narrow, I need the mood board to be done, because as we start to narrow on the plans, as you know, the interior designers are great about where they want linens, or where they want nooks, or where they want these little nooks and crannies. And so we'll actually then incorporate them before the plans are done. Oh, well, we want to move this little jam, or we want to do that, so that we can get the little details on the plans.
Right. And I think what you'll find, to expand on that, is there's different levels of interior designers.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
There's interior designers, so our listeners know that they'll just help you with selections.
Yes.
They're not going to take time to do specific drawings.
That's right.
Right? Because most architects they'll get you what's called a builder set.
Yeah.
Which is about 8 to 10 pages, gets you just enough, and then they just say, here you go. It's a cheaper in price typically.
It is.
It's for a builder that's building a spec, but they'll do it for customers too.
They will.
Which I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, because it leaves so much on the builder to try to figure out.
Yeah.
And it's hard to price.
That's right.
But not only that, is the architects will do that knowing that if there's a interior designer on the team, that perhaps their responsibility, because number 2 type of designer is one that not only does the selections and helps walk the customer through all of the items that go in the home, but they'll also draw the physical elevations of the room.
Yep.
And, so they'll show you a picture of the wall.
Yep.
And they'll know exactly the size of the boards, where to start. So it gets into the nitty gritty.
That's right.
And it's really how the plan comes together and how it makes it beautiful.
That's right.
So I have a lot of customers that say, well, I don't really need an interior designer. I watched HGTV for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I can do this myself.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
You can't.
I hate to say I love them to death. I love my customers to death. But something that's going to ruin their customer experience every time is the ones that think they can do it themselves.
Yep.
They're never as happy.
Nope.
They spend more money.
They're overwhelmed.
And there's no cohesion. There's no symmetry in the home.
Nope.
And it just doesn't look quite as good. And when they go to sell it, they're not going to get as much as they could with a choreographed home that was designed by an interior designer. I would add to that, I'm on a rip. I'm on a rant.
Yeah, you're on one.
I'm on one. And I'll add to that, a good interior designer, when working with us up front, knows the budget, because our customer that went through episode 1 knows that they're going to share the budget.
Yep.
And we're going to help them make the budget work overall as a builder cog in the wheel to get to that breaks it all the way down to this is how much you get to spend on your faucets.
Yeah, that's right.
Even could be all the way down to your kitchen faucet.
Yep.
All the way through the home. The builder's reminding the rest of the team that, hey, your interior doors are not just about your door, your door handles or your interior door hardware. It's not about your door handles. You got to think about your hinges and your door bumps.
That's right.
And go a step further on your door bumps. Do they want it in your baseboard, on the floor, or on the hinge itself?
Yep.
So there's so many layers that if you don't map it out and have cohesion, then it becomes a little bit of a mess. So that interior designer, in my opinion, is another really important cog. And there's different levels.
There is.
Basic, the ones that draw. And then there's an interior designer, so you're aware that just won't do a job unless they get all the soft finishes as well.
Furniture,
draperies, things like that. So that's something that a homeowner wants to investigate early, because pick the right one, what you need, vet them, and then bring them onto the team early.
I'm a product of the market I'm in. Right? Okay, so our market has architects. Architects are not in residential as widely used as draftsmen, right? And there's a difference. There's a difference between a licensed architect and a draftsman. We have for so long in our market, builders set, try to build the house. Well, the bigger these houses they get and the more complicated they get, I've really been pushing our clientele. Listen, I know that most builders you go to are going to tell you, well, we can get started with 10 grand and we can do this. Can we get started with 10 grand and start building your house? We can. We are going to spend more trying to build the house with only starting with 10 grand than if we spend 60 up front. If we find a really good architect and a really good interior designer and we dial these plans in, yes, we're spending 60 grand, but then we know what we're building. Like you said, we've job costed it. We know exactly what we're doing rather than every day. And you said something that you're right, so right. When a customer's doing it themselves, the overwhelm of, hold on, I got to pick hinges and door stops and all these things that if you have an interior designer, they're picking without you knowing. They're putting it on there and you're like, oh, I love it. Well, because you said you love it, now we already know what we're doing rather than having to ask you.
Yeah, and we're getting a price for them.
That's right.
Almost immediately, so they can, if it is too much and it's going over their budget line item by line item, they can quickly pivot from that into something different. And then you're controlling the selections.
That's right.
The budgets, which lead to less chaos in the field. And we'll talk about that in just a moment, but you hit on something key. What I'm hearing you say for all of our listeners is the true villain at this phase could potentially be picking the wrong person on the team. Or I would say what I'm hearing you say is you get one-sided with the low cost.
Yes.
That it's almost like you might as well not have that player on the team because they're not going to be in line with the other players.
That's right.
They're not, we may expect a certain amount, but they went with the low cost and they're only going to get this. And it doesn't allow us to achieve that team atmosphere and everybody's on the same page to get that end result.
It just is, so much has changed since I've been in this industry and used to, and I know you know this too. I mean, I'm talking as short as 10 years ago, it felt like building was done a little more on the fly. And I remember being with you in the Builder 20 groups, and I remember guys being like, we want 70% of selections done before we break ground. And us custom guys laughed at that. We're like, oh, ha, 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 that's impossible.
Can't happen.
Can't happen. You can't do it. And now that you're here, it's like, well, because also used to 10 years ago, we didn't mix metals. What I mean by that is if you picked an oil rub bronze light fixture in your bathroom, your bath hardware was oil rub bronze, your cabinet hardware was oil rub bronze. Well, it's not that way anymore. So it's become more complicated that if we are doing stuff on the fly, and I'm saying this like we've talked about a bunch to these customers, hey, this information we're giving you is stuff that we've learned, okay? And sometimes you learn the hard way when you have customers that you have upset due to the length of time that the build has taken, due to the cost overruns that it's taken. Well, when you're working off, 6 sheets of plans and no interior design, what are you costing? What are you building? And what we fight in our market is so many other builders, oh, nope, we'll get you a set of plans done for $2 a foot. Don't need an interior designer. We'll just kind of like go to the store as we go. No problem. So that's intriguing to a lot of customers of, oh, I can get going for 10 grand rather than, hey, I'm going to need 40 to do this right. But what I want people to know, whether you choose me or not, I hope you do. Whether you choose me or not, or whether you choose Vince or not, in your market, spending the money up front on these power team to have this stuff done will make it to where when the build gets a little chaotic, which it will, because we're dealing with weather, we're outside, trades, you don't also have, oh, I got to go pick selections. Oh, this is here. We know it's done. We're working to build your house.
That's right. That's right. And it tames that chaos.
Yes.
And quite honestly, I mean, you'll hear me say that many times in this episode. We strive to have 85% of selections done before we go to permit.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll talk about that more in the next segment. But, my happiest customers, hands down, I've been in business for 25 years, building for 35 years. In that amount of time, my happiest, most satisfied customers, because that's the name of the game going forward, not who the builder is. It's the customer satisfaction that the builder gives.
100%.
And the experience.
Yep.
But my happiest customers over all those years, which I've taken and moving forward, are the customers that were able to come on a Saturday to the job site with a cup of coffee and enjoy what was done the week before with their family, friends, significant other. You don't get that if you don't do 85% of the selections up front. We've measured it. We've surveyed it. We've done it. If you want to enjoy your home build experience, no matter who you pick for a builder, you need to push them, if they don't already demand it like we do, to do the selections. Because here's the fun part. When they finally come out and see it and they're having their coffee, then they get to then say, I love everything we picked for this particular thing. It's just this one thing we'd like to change. And then it's a 15, 20-minute trip back to that particular store or back to the interior designer to ask them about that, or a pivot that an interior designer makes because he now sees it. That's an easy change, and we can still maintain a schedule.
That's right.
But when you don't do that and have that power team in place and you're going on the fly, I attribute it to like you're out in the wild west, just bam, 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 bam.
The customer's frustrated.
Stuff. Yeah.
It's and I'll even go with this. Not only push your builder, I'll turn it back on the customer a little bit. If your builder's somebody that wants these decisions done, do not push them to get started. I'm telling you, as somebody listening to this as a customer, that 2 extra months that they don't break ground, that you then get your selections done, is going to be so much better than if we start building your house and your selections aren't done.
That's right.
And again, I'm saying this, and I know you know this from experience. When it's not done, it's like you said, I'll tell you this, I can't as a builder give you customer satisfaction.
That's right.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't because there's too much chaos. And what we've been using, you're saying customer satisfaction. I heard Warren Buffett say this, that it's about delighting your customer.
Right.
We've been using that around our office now too. Hey, instead of customer satisfaction to this, we want them delighted. Okay, well, being younger when I started, customer service and customer satisfaction to me was giving the customer what they wanted. Okay, well, we need to start. Okay, well, let's get started. Right, let's get started. Well, now I'm learning, no, that gave them short-term customer satisfaction. For me to really delight my customer, no, this is what we have to do
Yep.
so that we can actually give you the service that you deserve.
Amen. Amen to that. So moving on to the next one. So we talked about builders, architects, interior designers. The other key power player is engineers.
Yes.
And yes, we know, there's certain markets that in certain municipalities within markets that don't require engineering.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But I've found, and I don't know if you found this, the money that is spent for you to run your plans through an engineer or your site plan through a site engineer, you're probably going to need that for a permit anyway.
Yeah.
The site plan anyway with the house on it and what's happening is worth its weight in gold because you find what we call in the field complications or conflicts that it looks one way on a set of plans, but you don't realize that that beam that is now going to have to go there to support the floor above in the span, which is the distance between walls, basically, has to be 24 inches tall. And now you come down those stairs, you walk in, and either it's in this odd thing that you can't hide and turn into a faux beam, or it's a head hazard.
Yes.
Or this thing that's just in your face.
Yeah.
And so an engineer can quickly pivot and say, hey, to achieve what you want to achieve, to make this home look good and not be this odd thing, we then can shift this to a piece of steel.
Yeah, we can go steel.
And that'll slim it. And so that's the importance. And to make sure you don't have deflection in your floors, things that, anybody listening, if you've ever seen in a house, you go to a doorway and there's a crack that's on a 45-degree angle in sheetrock in old houses. Well, that's the structure shifting that it might not have been built strong enough to hold the above for wind loads, dead loads, live loads, or for the long haul.
Man, and you're right. You nailed one. So you said wind loads. They've really gotten big in the Edmond city limits on shear wall. Okay, and so it's actually been great. At first, as a builder, as you know, anytime something new gets introduced, you're annoyed. You're like, oh no, more. It's crazy that 15 years ago, when I got into this, we're just taking plans and building. All right, let's do it. Let's frame it up. It's so awesome to know, like you said, peace of mind for us and for these customers. Hey, we send your plans off to an engineer. Me and the framer and the lumber sales rep aren't sitting out here on the slab calculating your loads, because that's the way it used to be. I'm sure that's the way you used to do it.
You say, well, we think a 2x12 will be good there.
Let's see what the wind's doing. We can get away with a 2x10 or a 2x12. Now, everything we run through our engineers, they tell us where our shear walls are going to be, our Simpson strong ties, what brand of Simpson strong tie we need to use.
All the way down to the model number.
All the way down to the model number. And I love that so much because we literally get that back. We print it off on a big set. It goes to the framer. There's no thinking.
And it's peace of mind for the homeowner.
That's what
this
I mean.
is a small price to pay for peace of mind and
100%.
the security that it was built to engineer specs and they stamped it. And on top of that, I would add in there, you mentioned shear load, shear, and our listener might not understand what that is, but that's really come about. And you mentioned that because you're hearing it more and more. And the reason is we're getting windows and door openings that are massive now.
Massive.
Big sliders. Everybody loves the big steel doors that open all the way up. They're the big sliding glass doors that come back, or the big windows. Those are spectacular. But what that does is it makes a large opening in a very heavy structure that not only has to be supported, but shear-wise, meaning the left and the right and how that structure is held, you don't have enough outside wall in those areas with plywood to make it strong, to stiffen it.
That's right.
So it requires special engineering as to how that's going to be achieved. So you get that same structural stability that you would have. And so these are critical things. And that's another reason why you've got to have them on your power team.
Got to have them on there.
Now, the fifth person I love on the power team is a landscape architect. And
often missed.
Oh, because it's always one of those things you say, I'll just wait till the end. And, you get to the end and you have no money for your landscape, by the way.
Exactly. You have no money. You've already spent it.
You've already overspent.
And on landscape architects, which I know you'll get into, I cut you off because you went on a rip earlier, so I'm going to, so get over it.
Yeah, get it.
Anywho, it's you got to think, most people think, we'll get the landscape architect in after we do the driveway, after we do these things. Anywho, when we're doing your driveway before all this, we need the landscape architect. Hey, they're going to lay in. Do we want a curved? Okay. Do we want to put some boulders here? The need for them so that we're doing your site correctly is so important, and definitely in areas with topography.
Yeah.
And you have a ton here where we build east of I-35 in Edmond. Also have a ton of topography. It is very important to have these guys on your team and know what you need to do early.
That's right, because they're going to set the height of the home a lot of times. How does it look from the street? Do you want a couple steps up to the front door to make it present beautifully?
Right.
Or is it just a flat walk-in? You know, the couple steps makes it look really, really nice.
Yes.
But that adds cost. And so having them in early, you can make those good decisions as to placement as well. Not only that is, you know, I'll go one step further and say there's so much more underground now. Sleeves. That, you know, to run things for the future under driveways. Our landscape architects are thinking of that.
Yes, they are.
Hey, run this PVC pipe because you might not need it now, but you can run copper through it later if you wanted to put a gas grill over here. They're planning for the future, even if you don't do it now. But you need to know where, as a builder, you need to know where that sleeve is.
Right.
And, you know, I had a landscape architect give me a good tip years ago. And they're like, hey, when you're running a water line, why don't you run two? I was like, because that costs money.
That costs money.
Right, go away. No, and then, but he had a good point. He's like, yeah, but you're never going to have this ditch. Your homeowner is never going to have this ditch open again. It goes underneath this thing and this thing and that thing. If that's an active line with pressure on it for as long as they live here.
Yeah.
If they ever get a break or something happens with it, you can very easily in the basement and at the road, cut it off. Just switch it to the other brand new line and you're good. You never have to go into your lawn again.
Yeah.
So that I thought was a spectacular idea, but things like that, that they can call out on a plan and it totally protects you.
That's right.
And is a benefit for the customer in the future, along with pricing. And then when they do it, you can actually price out their hardscapes, which are retaining walls, you know, stone steps, walkways, sod, turf. You know, we can price all this out, and that has to be in their customer's budget number up front.
That's right.
And that's part of the power team. And I'd say the last person we had them on recently, the home automation specialist.
We did.
They were our first episode.
Yep.
Incredible. If you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it.
It's the best one yet.
We're the only ones yet. Anyway, we digress. But back to it, you know, everything now is smart, right? And so I really feel like they need to be on board up front because we also need them to do a plan.
Yeah, we do.
Where do the lights go? We need to know important things that you physically see that light in a room. Lights have to be in a specific spot, be a specific size and Kelvin and all of those things, you know, in specific areas. And that often dictates the more important mechanical things like plumbing. Well, stuff has to flow downhill.
Yeah, it's got to go downhill.
So plumbing is the first trade that goes in because their pipes are critical. But you need to be able to hand the plumber a plan from your automation specialist, your AV, some people you would call it, that says, well, can you go in the next bay? Because if you go in this bay, we're not going to be able to line lights up in this room, and it's going to throw off the look and feel of the room and the lighting at different hours. So, and that's just lighting, but that's what they do.
That's
lighting, automation, automated blinds. They will be able to tell us early, so we know right where to put an outlet or power or something that we need to price out even before we start. To get our customer the right budget. And so I think what's your take on that?
Well, that's relatively new too, in my opinion. Like used to is like, okay, the way we did it, once everything gets roughed in, then we bring the AV guy in, right? And you're starting to see sometimes that's too late. And you're right. There's somebody that's getting added in that we need to really think about getting in early.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go into this next segment. I know we're running long because I'm trying to talk as fast as I can if you haven't realized it yet.
Well, I just thought that was normal.
Yeah. Well, I was just after lunch and a beer. Which reminds me, the brews part of today's show is I'm drinking a Yingling lager.
Yeah. What am I drinking?
I don't know. I'm sure the audience already knows.
The audience already knows.
The same thing you always do.
Same thing. It's the only thing.
We're going to get you on something different soon.
We'll think about it.
I don't know.
Probably not.
I mean, it's like drinking dirty water.
Oh.
Anyway, let's talk about, one big thing that I wanted talk and tell the homeowner, the homeowners, the listeners about is, okay, you got your power team, your big six.
Yep.
Okay. And we've talked about each one and the benefits.
Yeah.
Okay. And how they'll save time, money, and chaos and enhance the customer journey and experience in the long run all the way through. Clear, concise strategy. Now it's the value of the pre-construction process.
Yeah.
That is something that I've talked to builders even today, and they're like, what is pre-construction? Is that getting a permit? Whoa, everybody. No, it is way, way more intense. It's actually more intense of a process, in my opinion, than the physically build, and more important.
It's way more intense. It's way more important. And it's where we also see customers, if we don't do a good enough job educating them of why it's so important, it's where I'll see customers of ours starting to get antsy. Hey, we're ready to build. Because the problem is when customer from our last meeting is having their cup of coffee, or as I said, a Miller Lite, and they're like, you know what? I want to build a house. They want to build a house today.
Mm.
They've made that decision. And the problem is, for us to build your house properly and to delight you, we have to go through pre-construction. And pre-construction, like you said, it is, let's be honest, it's grueling. Because you know what? That's where we are talking about, hey, what kind of doorstops do you want? You want them in your baseboard? Do you want them here? What color hinges do you want? Do you want it square? Do you want them rounded? What do you want? This stuff is so, it feels like it takes forever, but it is so important.
Yeah.
So important.
It is so. And I just think a good pre-construction process will equate to a good build.
Yes.
Okay. And quite honestly, the old adage is you can't price out a project until you have all the selections. And during this pre-construction time frame is when you make those selections.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Before you start. So we always break it into a few phases. First phase is obviously sales,
Yep.
working with the customer, shared vision, things like that. Second phase is pre-construction.
Yep.
For us, we have the customer sign up. We'll give them a budgetary ballpark analysis based off of maybe the first round of conceptual drawings or the ideas they've brought forth. Then what we tell them is, hey, we would now like for you to move towards this pre-construction phase. We do it. It is an intense process the way we do it, but the customer is going to get everything they need to build this home effectively and know exactly, within a few percentage points of what it's going to cost. I mean, you've said it before. You're pretty confident that if you do a good pre-construction process and get all the information you need up front, even before you put a shovel in the ground or even pull a permit, you'll know what that home's going to cost up to sheetrock within a % or two.
Yeah,
The rest
that's
is
right.
whatever they decide to pick, which is the big variance.
That's the variance.
So that's a pre-construction.
And we can't control that. And if the customer wants to spend more, they want to spend more. That's no problem. But I'm very confident that if we do the right pre-construction process, hey, up to drywall, 1% to 2%. That's, hey, how close are your budgets? 1% to 2% up to after drywall.
That's something that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what somebody can take to the bank.
Yeah, that's right.
And they can sleep easy at night knowing that they know what they can expect and be able to make those selections.
That's right.
And spend that money where they see it.
Where they want.
Which is
Yep.
the unknown that the pre-construction time frame will help. Now, we charge for ours. But what we've heard is time and time again that what we charge for ours saves them not only, I've had some say 12 times that amount,
Yeah.
but it definitely saves at least twice that
Yes.
amount of whatever we charge in interest carry because you're making your selections and getting everything figured out up front. It's not chaos along the way and delays because the customer now has to pull their hair out and so-and-so's out of town. They got to run and make a selection. They're upset. They overprice themselves. They buy something in a hurry. All those things that cause chaos and basically is the villain of a build.
Oh, yeah.
Those things are now done up front and it's fun. They get to now go with their coffee on a Saturday, enjoy what they have already selected. That is what I think the value of a pre-con, and that time that's saved is back in their pocket. The messes that they make with selections when they're pushed on a scheduled time frame, they've always picked too much or too expensive.
Yeah.
And and so you'll save them money. So I say, go pick a builder that you like. With us, you don't have to build with us.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
we're going to provide you a world-class experience with a world-class process during pre-construction that you are going to know exactly, and that's your intellectual information. We give it to you.
Yep, so do we.
And you then can take that, and now you have the ability to go apples to apples against other builders. Our little hook is, if you do work with us, we'll give half of that money you spent with us back, of the time we spent.
Yeah.
Our internal hours.
Yeah.
We'll give it back. And so that's our little hook to keep them with
I like
us.
that.
And it gives the customer, it's a try and buy.
It is.
We're going to be married to each other. I hate to say it, know, and I snore when I sleep, but we're going to be married with each other for, a year and a half or however, 2 years or 14 months, however long it takes to build the house.
And that's how we pitch ours as well. We are like, okay, we have a 2-part process: design contract, construction contract. Our pre-con, we're engaged. We're going to try this out. We go to construction, but my happiest customers were those who dove into the pre-con. We did it. We knew what we were doing. My least happiest customers, who probably don't think we know what we were doing because it looked like we didn't, were customers that we did not hold our thumb on them through pre-con. We started their homes. We weren't ready. We were asking them to make decisions as we went, and it's a dumpster fire.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got 5 minutes left in our time together, and we've given a lot of information.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot, but this is really critical.
Yeah.
And we can, if anybody's interested in learning more about the pre-construction phase, just let us know. It is really intense, but is the best money you'll ever spend, and it helps you pick the right builder and not feel beholden to one.
That's
and
right.
realize you don't mesh.
That's right.
Right? And you can get out and find the right one.
That's right.
Now, what are the things that homeowner should look for in a builder contractor? Give me 4 things.
I don't know if I can give you 4 things, but I'm gonna stay on this topic, which is find the builder that talks openly about using a team. Talk about that builder that's like, hey, we're going to use an architect. We're going to have we need you to have an interior designer. We need to do a pre-construction. Find that builder that knows, hey, it takes so many people working together to put this house together. Not just, I'm the builder, I'm the star, I'm there. You're right. They're the quarterback, so they're kind of a star, but a quarterback can't win without an offensive line, can't win without a running back, can't win without a defense. These are things that across the nation, find somebody that the builder openly is sharing with you, like, no, I need a team of people, and then we collaborate, and then we help put it together.
And I think that falls in line with what I would think, a builder with experience.
Yep.
A builder with experience is going to operate that way.
That's right.
Checking their reviews.
Yep.
Did you do a search on Better Business Bureau?
Yeah.
Listen, with AI, I hate to give out this secret. With AI, you can find anything about anybody.
Yeah.
So do your AI search. You put it in ChatGPT or whatever version, Claude or whatever you use.
Yeah.
And then look at examples of past projects and go talk to the homeowners is what I would say is my big 3, right?
Yep.
And then what about for an architect? Same.
Our market's so different. We kind of push. They usually find us first, and we kind of push to the architects we like them to use. I know that's different for you, so I'll let you answer this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going there anyway. It's their portfolio.
Yeah.
What have they done? Does your likes align with what they historically draw? And the reason why I say that is, and it's the reason why we don't have architects on staff. People have asked us many times, hey, Vince, why don't you guys have an architect on staff or an interior designer? Because I really think that each customer has different tastes and different things that appeal to them, different goals, different lifestyle, different challenges, different futures. And only they can pick who they want. And what I mean by that is, I knew if I brought on an architect, some architects, they have one particular type of home, a typical way that they draw, vernacular, like we like this, they're a classical, they're really good at modern, they're really good at transitional. And what happens, and it's the same thing with interior designers, right? They have certain ways that I have designers that I always send customers to if they have a traditional style. Oh, you should talk to these folks. More transitional. These people kick butt at modern style homes, And so what I do is I say, hey, listen, if we have that person in house and you go to the architects that you like modern, but they are a traditional designer or architect, guess what? Your home is going to have traditional flair and not really get you to that feel you're looking for. So you've got, and that's why I don't have someone in house, because I'm afraid that their values are going to come across to our homeowners, right?
Agreed.
So that's what I think is key.
Yep.
Do they do the type of things that you want and desire?
That's right.
And then as for the interior designer, does that relate to their style and design? Right? Fair. And I think that's pretty much it on that. I would say last thing, is there any red flags that you would like to leave the customers with that they should look out for when they're in this process?
Yeah, I mean, really the only one is, like you said, anybody who has done this long enough is going to know how important a pre-construction process is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are looking for a builder that is, hey, 10 grand and we're putting a footing in 2 months, you're probably not. You're not going to enjoy it. Find a builder that has a pre-construction process and that talks about pre-construction. That is what's going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah. So no pre-construction or lack thereof.
Yep.
Number 2,
where do they communicate?
Where do they communicate and how?
I tell our customers this all the time. We use co-construct. I tell customers all the time, listen, I can give you the names and numbers of 3 of our customers that used our platform. They will tell you that we communicated well and that we were one of the most put together builders. I can give you the names and numbers of 3 customers who wanted to text and call and not use co-construct, and they will tell you we were one of the most discombobulated builders. They would be right, because we operate inside a co-construct. So yes, do they have a platform? Because I'll tell you this, texting and calling as a builder and only using that as your form of communication will leave you so spread out you won't be able to keep
that's
everything.
Right. And then number 3 was
Collaboration.
Yeah, unwanting, not wanting to collaborate.
Yep.
So those are the big 3. So at this point, I think we've not hit everything, and I'm tired. Are you tired?
I'm taking a nap right now.
Well, we hope that you, our listener, found this interesting. We'd love it if you would like and share this. And if you would also subscribe to our channel. You can find us on YouTube and wherever all the podcasts are.
Yep.
And now you can probably find us on Instagram.
Yep.
And I just wanted to say thank you. And if you have any questions, DM us. We'd love to hear from you and incorporate your questions into an upcoming show. Thanks so much. And until next time.
Have a Miller Lite.
Oh, yeah. Till next time. See ya.
See ya.